Okay. Yeah. Kia koto. Hard to see anybody. All you can see is just a couple people's dark cameras. But if you'd like, you're more than welcome to turn your cameras on for today, just so you can get a little bit of a reaction from you and see some kind of engagement. But my name is Amy Markello. I'm part of the New Zealand chapter. Kia ora, Liz. Good to see you. I'm here with some of the ladies as well as the marvelous Maureen here in the remote offices. I'm just going to open us with a karakia before I hand over to her to start the session tonight. So you guys are more than welcome to join in if you're familiar with it, but whakataka sehu ki te uru, whakataka sehu ki te kona, kia mā, kina kirita, kia mā, tātai ki tai, he ake ana, te atakura, he tirio, he huka, he haku, tihe, o mauri. Kia ora, and thank you guys for coming along on Tuesday afternoon.
Yep. Can you hear me? You can. So this is okay, I hope. So I'm going to look there and I'll look here. Let me just say a couple of words about myself. I am a trained clinical psychologist, don't hold that against me. And I've worked for decades in the humanitarian and disaster area. I'm really interested in self-care because I've seen what happens when people don't do it. And I'm still here because I did do it. So I want this to be useful for everybody. So I've made a PowerPoint and I think it's a workshop. So we'll do a couple of activities. No one has to share what they don't want to share. Let's do this. It's working before now. Right. So the idea is supporting the supporters, which I imagine most of you are. I don't know what you're doing. For an hour and a half, maybe to get to know each other a bit better. But I'll let you just read that, because in fact, we forget we're often part of the community. You've all been through the pandemic, so you've all been through an emergency anyway. Usually, if you're working away from home, you're outside the usual networks. You're adapting to people you don't know, to teams, to routines, to schedules, and you're dealing with difficult situations, right? So this is, next slide is very colorful, but I want you to just think where you are now. Where would you put yourself? It's not so easy to see, but you can. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. So I hope nobody's in the red today, but if you are, I'm around afterwards. Certainly, I would invite you to see someone you trust if you're on the orange-red side of this day. This is an interesting one. You couldn't put it up, it's a bit scary, but also it will let you know just how you fluctuate, what's happening. If you're leading teams, it's a good one to have just on the wall to laugh about, but also to remind people of where they are. So tonight, we've got an hour and a half max, and I promise not at all to go over. It's the end of the day, and this is about self-care, right? I want us to look at our awareness of what we're doing, maybe do a bit of planning of our self-care, how we put things into action, And tonight, I don't think we're going to have time for managing our decision making and living with what we have to decide. So, can I just ask who has worked in emergencies here or in pressurized environments? Okay, right. So, this is pertinent for you. Let's have a look at this. There are post-its here. Please, if you're on digital, get a piece of paper. I've got a few pens. We're not going to put these up on the board. We're not going to discuss them. But I'd like you first to do question 1. Just know 2 things you know about self-care. I've got a pencil. You've not got a pencil. I've got something to write. So 2 things. You can put more down if you like. I suspect you all will know how to put down 10 things. Just a couple. Then I'd like us to look at question 2 here. So how do your attitudes to self-care influence what you do? Then question 3, if you think it is a core element, why do you think it is a core element for women in emergency management? Okay. We've got a bit of time. Are there any questions or comments on those questions? They're clear? Okay. So let's start with the easy one. Let's start with question 1. Anyone want to give me something you know about self-care? Yeah? Benefit from self-care. Well, benefit from it. What exactly is it? What is it? What are some of the actual practical things of self-care?
Put down eating healthy and exercising.
Okay, eating healthy, exercising. Anyone?
You guys will have to talk a bit louder so that we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Eating healthy and exercising.
You're competing with all the traffic noise. I think the windows are open.
Thank you for letting us know. You want to add something, Liz? What do you know?
You stole a couple of mine, but I'd say good sleep quality.
Yeah. Okay. Someone else. When you know this. Okay, so it differs with the people. What we do about self-care will be different. If I say we're going to have a half-hour meditation tonight, some of you would really enjoy it, some of you would leave pretty quickly.
Michelle was raised.
Yeah, Michelle.
Can you hear me now? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm Hawke's Bay. So yes, been through a very big event called Cyclone Gabrielle. And the way we I find that we've done so well when we talk about the most is actually aligning with people who've been through it too. So talking with them, they understand.
Yeah, talking with the groups that have experience, people that have had experience. Okay? Anything else about self-care?
If you can hear me okay.
Yep.
I was saying there's like two types of, my friend describes it as broccoli self-care and bubble bath self-care, of like there's the eating healthy, there's the doing the stuff that you know will be good in the long term, and then there's the actually today I just need to sit on the sofa and watch a movie and eat a bar of chocolate, and that's okay. But I can't do that every day.
Okay. Yeah. So self-care, it's many things. It differs with people. Anybody else want to say something here about what you've written down?
I just write down that it's not selfish, but it's a necessity. You have to look after yourself before you can do our job of helping others.
Yeah. So you know things about self-care. So let's move on to question 2.
Sorry, Maureen, just wanted to add,
Yeah.
Sally here. You
Hello,
know,
Sally.
some fun times and some good laughs, you know, like it makes you feel the world's worth living when you have a good laugh.
Yeah. Okay. Nice to see you, Sally. Great. Let's move on to question 2, everybody. What have you put down about your attitudes? Hello? How about here, starting off here?
I was thinking around like it's something that we can do to lift each other up. So like when I see someone else that has a good attitude towards it, it influences how I think about it.
Okay, so we're talking about modeling, and that would be very important if you were leaders, people, because people are going to look at you. Okay, so your attitude is, I'll do it if they're doing it. In a way, I'm changing it a bit.
And the thing that I put down is that it's my responsibility.
It's your
So if
responsibility.
I don't choose to do it, it's not me. But it kind of feeds into that as well.
Yeah, okay. You're going to flagellate yourself afterwards if you don't do it. Anybody else?
That's kind of similar to Deborah's, where it's you make the decision. So if you decide to be negative or you decide to be positive, you're making that decision and you're going to feel how that decision makes you feel.
Right.
So if you decide to eat chocolate on the couch for an hour, it'll make you feel good. If you decide to eat it for 14 hours, you might not feel so great at the end of that. So it's your decision.
Okay. Our attitude to what we do. Anybody online want to say something?
Sometimes we have to prioritize that. We all know what we should be doing, but sometimes we get maybe a bit slack about making it a top priority. And I think that modeling, when you see other people making it a top priority, it reminds you that you should be too.
Yeah. A little bit of difficulty there with the people who are going to model pressurized working and not self-care. But we'll come back to that a bit later on. Okay, let's look at question 3. Is it important for your work? And why? Any ideas?
So we can be like you and still be here after.
You're an old woman, yeah.
No, I mean, experienced, practitioner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Play the long game.
Play the long game. Okay, so it's a core element because it allows you to keep going. We've heard about modeling and how it influences other people. If you're leading, that's really important. They're going to watch you, going to watch how you lead. Okay, other things we might have thought of.
Yeah, just it allows you to be more effective. I like in the main the work I get to do, and I like to be effective in it. And if I go down the track of not looking after myself, which I can do, I'm not as effective. And I know that, you know, and also for the team, you know, as you say, role modeling is really important. You know, if you're staying there working till, you know, 11 o'clock at night, like the pressure can be on us all the time, then the other team members feel they've got to do the same, and then all your team go down the same gurgle hole, you know. So it's a combination of looking after yourself, being able to enjoy your work, and being able to achieve outcomes where your heart lies. Tough.
Great. Anybody want to add anything more there? Yeah.
The other thing I put was that women would tend to be doing other stuff as well and other responsibilities.
Yeah.
So they won't just be focusing on this emergency management, it's kids, it's, you know, the
Yeah.
whole other stuff
Yeah.
going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Potentially.
So is self-care still a core element? Yeah.
Absolutely, because of that, yeah.
Okay. You don't have to give me the answer I want. Look at that. And think of where you'd place yourself. What I notice when I do this, work with people over time, in any country I've been in really, is people say, yes, they know about it. They know about sleep, exercise, with food, talking with people they trust, whatever, having fun, prioritizing. Do they do self-care? Not so much. Not so much. So that's what I would like you to really be aware of tonight and the next days is just what's your attitude to it? One of you said it's not a luxury, it's not a self-indulgence. There's the little voice in our head saying the same thing. A lot of you probably would do it for other people, because that's the work you're doing. Do you do it for yourself? Is it like the oxygen mask that comes down in the plane? Do you do it for yourself first so you can do it for other people? Or do you do it for other people, take care of them, and you come in second? What's your opinion about this? Our friend in Hawke's Bay, how did you get on?
Sorry about that. I'd actually, funny enough, during the actual event, I was good because what had happened is just before that, I'd lost 14 kilos. And
Yeah.
every time we have an event in Hawke's Bay, I put on 3 or 4 kilos. So I was determined I was not going to put weight on this time. So my self-care, it was a conscious decision. Only problem was lots of things happened afterwards and still going on today. I'll put the weight all back on. But my point is saying is you can actually, under pressure, you can still do self-care. It's just you've got to do it long term.
Yeah. Well, we're in here for the duration as well, but I'm glad you came in prioritizing something you wanted to do. What's your feeling here about working in, when you're really working in the hard, difficult situations, or you're under deadlines? What happens to your self-care routine or behaviors?
I think mine tends to improve because I know it's very easily identifiable that this is a hard time and that it's a pressured environment. Therefore, I need to take extra special care to make sure that I look after myself. Whereas it's more likely to lapse when there's not that much
Okay,
going on.
that's great. All right. So have you got option B? What's your self-care routine in daily business as usual? Does it change when you go into pressurized situations?
Yeah, it's better. My self-care is better. I'm
Do you have
pressurized.
to adapt it or not?
Yeah, I think I probably don't do it that much just in daily life.
Right.
Or didn't anyway. But in a response,
So may I ask one or two things that you do about self-care that you can continue in a tough environment?
yeah, so in a tough environment, I'm very aware of I guess I'm very aware of how I'm reacting to a situation and where that reaction might come from. So I monitor myself a lot more carefully. So
Okay, so doing you hear that? So she monitors herself more carefully, yeah?
yeah, so I'm like, if I'm displaying behaviors that are unhealthy, I'm more likely to immediately nip them in the bud because I know I'm in this high pressured environment and that's a bad sign. And I tend to try and get like my sleeping routine gets better in a way because I'm like, oh, I have to go to bed early because I'm in this pressured environment. So I have to be like the best that I can, like top of my game in it. So I take more care to make sure that I can sustain that. Whereas in daily life, I'm like, yeah. Yeah.
Right. What about you virtual women up there? Any comments about what happens to you? We've heard someone going in saying, okay, this time I'm going to look after my weight. I'm not going to go down that path. The thing is, maybe it's linked with length of time. So you relax a little bit, the routine, the behaviors. What about here?
I'll jump in and say when I grew up, I aspire to be like Renee. So I would have to admit, I would freely admit that when I get into a pressurized environment like this, work becomes my focus, not myself and not my family as much. And that's actually the time when I should be buckling down and focusing on myself, like you're exemplifying. But that's actually when, I probably let it lapse, But hard one lessons though. Yeah. I do prioritize like moving and getting up and going outside and getting sunlight and stuff, not to some extent and some healthy habits, but I think as a whole of self, I'm probably not nearly as good during a time like this because you start to get so focused on something that you lose the larger perspective, and it's about taking that pause.
I think you're part of a big group. It's very nice to hear what you do. It obviously comes from experience because you've seen what happens otherwise. So usually what happens is we let things go, right? Or we don't develop a routine. That means we can keep up our self-care when we're in difficult situations. So if we go running or do exercise as our part of our self-care, if we're in the bunker across the road for a few months, weeks, it's almost impossible to do that. So I'm suggesting you may want to start thinking of alternative ideas and adapt it. Talking with good friends when you come out at 10 at night from a shift is perhaps not possible, right? So what do you do as an alternative? I just put that up because I think it's quite an interesting one. And Amy, I think it was, who said you can't work from an empty cup. She's also been honest enough to say she works like clappers when she needs to and doesn't necessarily prioritize herself. So it's that tension we've got going on. Any comments about that? For me, talking about and encouraging and supporting self-care is for you to look after your well-being but it's also important for your work. And think of it if you are a leader of a group as well, because if you neglect your self-care, it's going to impact your decision making. What happens when you're in a stressful situation is you become, perhaps, we're all different, as Renee said, it depends, but some people become over-controlling. You may have met them when they're under stress. Right? The micromanagers who up their game or need to control everything, or personally, do I need to control everything because I'm not feeling very comfortable? People tend to isolate themselves. If they're not looking after themselves, they withdraw. I'm not talking about withdrawing just for a little time to process something. I'm talking about not going out to see the people that you care about, not being able to work with your colleagues, not doing things that can be fun. And we know that when people are in a high stress situation, you tend to get tunnel vision. So emergency management means that probably you have to think outside the box because you're doing complex situations. If you've got tunnel vision, you're cutting out some of your capacity. So if you don't think you deserve self-care, if you want to be more competent in your work, that's a motivation to do it. Any comments on that one? Can I just go round and find out what kind of hand up for Fiona? Hi.
Hi there. A little bit late to the party, but really interesting conversation. I thought I'd just drop in some comments. I come from a incident management background, but predominantly wildfire, and including overseas deployments, which I know some of you will have been involved in for other for CDM and so on. But one of the things for overseas wildfire deployments is that you have to do a fitness test first. And initially I was like, well, why does the incident management team need to do that? But it's all about being fit and having the stamina for the long haul as you're talking for your 2-week rotation at that incident management team, so that you're actually prepared and ready to deploy. You've got the stamina to do it. I think the other thing from my experience is also we think about our health, but I wonder if we think about our diet. I'm a celiac, so that's a whole different kettle of fish. But I also know I don't sleep that well when I'm away from home. So it's actually being prepared for those situations as well and knowing how to cope with them on top of the whole stressful situation, because we all know that once you're short on sleep, that's never going to go well. Yeah, so just a couple of things to drop in the mix.
Great. I think knowing your triggers and knowing a situation before you go in is very helpful. So if you don't sleep well when you're outside your own bed, that's something to look at. And I agree with you. You're talking about preparation, and we'll look at that. It's one of the questions we're going to look at. Thank you. Anything else that people want to add there? Who's working in fire here? Wildfires? Let's just take a quick, we're not a big group. Okay, Fiona, you're working in fires, yeah? Okay. Who's working? Can I just get an idea of where people work? We just do a table, you've heard me a lot, to get an idea. So, Renee, would you be able to start?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm Renee, I work in community resilience and recovery, and I'm a response manager, but the area I work in most in deployment is public information management.
Yeah.
Michelle White, I'm with NEMA, so lead agency for natural hazards and construction code.
Yeah. David Ward came and frightened the hell out of class the other day.
I'm Jennifer Rizzi and I work here at REMA, so Regional Civil Defense Emergency Management Cyber Domain.
Right, can you hear everybody here? No, can you talk?
Jen from Remo.
So at Deborah, I work predominantly in incidents related to drinking water.
You're going to be popular. Yeah.
Kia ora, I'm Marion. I work in crisis management with Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Kia ora, I'm Amy. I work in public health emergency management, so communicable diseases and environmental health hazards like asbestos, sand, and measles.
A light job. What about you lot up there on the screen? Sally, start us off.
Kia ora koutou, Sally speaking. Primarily disaster recovery, sometimes in operations, international work. I manage the response, the initial response as well. Right at the moment, working from home, so that's a bit of a luxury, though there is a couple of tricky. But I tend to work mostly in, high stress. And I think, if I'm entirely honest, I think you get a little bit addicted to that. I think you got to be watching for that. Because if you take all the pressure off me, I'm sort of like, what's there to do? And I can dilly-dally about. But I'm so used to having that pressure. I actually, I need a range of it to function in a healthy manner, if that makes any sense, Maureen. Back to you.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes sense. I'll comment on that later. Yeah, Liz.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Liz. I work at NEMA New Zealand and occasionally get stuck down in the bunker for days with no sunlight. So I'm a big advocate for chocolate treats for the team and getting outside for sunlight and fresh air.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A couple of people dropped in the chat. You might
Yes.
Yeah. So Jamie in our chat said that they're in disaster preparedness, not hazard specific, Australian Red Cross Emergency Services, specifically working with called community preparedness in Canberra. Rhiannon says, Rhiannon says, I'm in preparedness and response for all hazards in Victoria. Overheated office with aircon. No worries. We have the windows open because it's hot in here. Sue Ellen says, I'm in local council working in resilience and recovery, and I'm a first responder in the Vic SES. State Emergency Services for Victoria, I think. And someone on an iPhone says workforce capability at the Department of Health Victoria in emergency management. They work in response training and exercising, just on a train. Kia ora, Amy would love to catch up with you later, whoever you are. Jen says Victoria Police, I can't speak, health and safety and well-being in the Eastern region. And Fiona says, IMT planning manager for FENS and other adverse events in the rural space with MPI. And Michelle says, Hawke's Bay emergency management, controller PA or logistics. And Georgina says her BAU role isn't in EM, but she's part of WCC's Emergency Operations Center and Intelligence. I don't know if that's Wellington City Council or another organization.
City Council.
Okay, Georgina is. Yeah. And Hannah, local government EM as well.
Right. Have we covered everybody? Everybody's had a chance. So there's a rich, varied, and quite heavy workforce around in this workshop. I do agree with Sally. I think we're all in it because we like a bit of adrenaline. It's not a problem, right? We may get a little bit titchy if we don't have something to keep us occupied. It's important for us to know our triggers and what we like. This is to do with awareness. In your self-care, to be aware of what you need and how you need it is an important aspect of self-care. It is not someone like me who comes in and tells you what you need to do. Also, we go back to the responsibility, if you do it or not. But I'd take out the shoulds, even though I think you should do it, right? So what I'd like you to do is have a look. We'll not split into groups today. I'd like you to just note your ideas around question 1. What you would do, okay, in your daily lives, both at work and in your home environment. Just know 1 or 2 things. And then I would like you to look at what you do in self-care when you're really active. Is it different? And especially, what do you do when you have to come back home? So let's take, say, 4 minutes. Just write it down. Are the questions clear there? Any comments? Okay, let's write that down. Thank you for looking at the chat. I haven't had a look at it. I've noted one message is people have a plan, they don't know quite how to put it into practice, and we're going to look at that, so just stick with us. Does anybody need more time? Okay. Who would like to have a comment on question 1? There are no right or wrong answers here, unless you take cocaine and drink a lot, in which case, don't comment.
Even in moderation.
For me, it's practice it and champion it to make it your like BAU, if you like, to make it an automatic thing that you do.
Yeah, so you're sort of working on it to get it to be a routine that you have in your daily life. Anybody else?
I put tell people what your plan is.
Yeah.
So share what your intent is.
What does that do for you?
I guess there's a little bit of accountability, but it also sets an expectation for others that if you're stepping away, they know why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's communicating as well as getting them to maybe say, well, what have you been, how long did you do whatever you do? Anybody on the screen want to say something? I'm so sorry I haven't got time to look at the chats. They're really interesting.
There are a few things in the chat.
Yeah. So, Amy, if you were able to multitask,
Yeah.
you can say no.
No, I can. I have the capacity. For planning, communicating needs, particularly at home, then knowing that it's okay to say no, being kind to themselves when it's not, self-care isn't optimum.
So being able to say no and being kind. I'd love to know how many people are doing that. Yeah.
Another one that says establishing firm boundaries of time for yourself. An example of scheduling lunch breaks in the calendar, taking some dedicated alone time at home. And cheat piggyback off of that. Just say for me, it's taking the time to prioritize, to know what I need to block time for, but that knowing and taking the time to do that is half the battle for me.
Yeah. Okay. Who here sets up on their agenda a meeting that's not actually a meeting, but is a time for themselves? Anybody do that? Good. Yes. Right. So that, especially the people who have other people checking their agendas to see where they are. It's a very good ploy. Yeah. Okay. What about anything from the screen, or have you been in the chat? Is it different at work than at home?
It's Sally
Because
here, Maureen.
Yeah.
I think it's different when you're away too. Like I find that really difficult when you come home, you've been away for an extended period perhaps, and the demands on your time from those people you love the most in life. That's when I can really struggle with saying no, because, I pay a price for my job and sometimes that's not been around, when there's really important times and moments
Yeah.
and so when I come home, I really struggle with that saying no because, they've done without me for that period of time. Now I sort of feel like I've got to make it up. So I've really got to watch that because that's when I give too much.
Yeah. And you're coming home from when one is coming home, often you're tired and you've been going really hard. And you're saying there's a lot of, especially perhaps I say gender specific, often women put themselves second because they have been doing something and now they should be because they care about the people they come home to, right? It is important for you to know about the third space. Who knows about the third space? Okay, what's the third space? You'll be fine.
A place, it could be physical, but it might not be. That you can go to that's kind of your home, kind of your safe space.
Yeah.
It's the interim between, it's kind of that transition space maybe.
It's a transition space. It's between when you're at work and when you come back to your home environment. It can be you taking off a uniform, leaving things at work. It can be you in the train, if it's going, reading a book on the way home. It can be you on your bike smelling the flowers. It depends for you to have a third space. If you're a leader, you will need these small minutes more. So you will need, before you open the door to a meeting room, maybe breathe in a couple of times if that works for you. Maybe listen to just one small bit of music. Maybe pat the dog if you're working from home, whatever happens. Third space, transition time. Maybe Sally, who's given that really, I'll come back, interesting and good example, it would be for her to just think, okay, this is going to be tricky for a couple of minutes because they're all in there waiting for me. And she's a lovely woman, I know her, so they all wanted to come home. How am I going to manage this? Just give yourself a little bit of space, right? Anything here?
I was going to say, coincidentally, right before you started talking about the buried space, Alison online had talked about the ability just to properly switch off. And she said that she likes that her work is a little over 30 minutes away, so she has time to do whatever it takes to leave work at work, and then she's home to be present. So I think Alison coincidentally kind of, talked about it. She said it is hard when we're working virtually. And then Jen online has suggested Dr. Adam Fraser as a resource book, along with online resources.
Yeah, certainly good things. Okay. Any other comments about question 1? Yeah, Michelle.
I just had a little bit of an epiphany with this discussion. So my husband is drama adverse, which is absolutely crazy because I'm a dramatic person. But that's okay. But actually, now I realised it's actually been a good thing for me because I come home and I have to switch off because I've got no one to talk about it anyway. And so thanks for this conversation because actually, instead of being mad at him, I'm now thankful for it.
Yeah, well, there we are. And can I just say, you're making this conversation. It's not just us here. So I agree, that's important. Also, coming back home means sometimes you cannot share what you've been doing. Think about that in your self-care. How are you going to manage that? Have you got a peer group that you mentioned, Michelle, talking about people who had the same experience. Do you have people you trust that you can exchange with over time? Because you can't offload necessarily onto the family. Okay, let's look at question 2. When you're active,
I bring my own pillow on deployments, even if people make fun of me for it. I bring my own pillow on every deployment because I know that way I'll get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Okay, bringing a pillow.
I've got one from previous military time from clinical psychologists or organisational psychologists is around having your own hygiene kit, so sleep kit, whatever you need to do to help with that transition to make you feel like you're in a safe place and can relax at the end of the day if you want like a fixed deployment for 6 months or something. So it's kind of similar.
Yeah. So taking small special things for your, I don't know if you've heard that, as a hygiene kit or your own special idea, the pillow, and both women talked about safe spaces, and we all need to feel safe. It's a primary thing about self-care. No one's mentioned it yet, but that's one of, okay, anything else? What do you do when you're with all of these Rambos and Ramboettes in a tricky situation? What do you do about your self-care? When you're in a room with another 30 people all working really hard, making a lot of noise. When you don't have windows in the bunker. Have you thought of this?
So what I put for that one was every response will be different. So you need to plan according to whatever's happening in that response. So understanding the schedule and what the rhythm is looking like, what your shift might be, and be realistic for that situation for yourself. And make sure you're intertwining those things that bring you that joy or that bring you those self-care moments. So, if your shift is X to Y, what kind of exercise are you going to do? Are you going to do some stuff at the hotel room when you get home, or what will work given the length of time you're working, how tired you are, that sort of thing. Making a point to eat right while you're there. It's really easy to eat all the lollies and stuff that get thrown at you, but trying to focus on the healthier foods.
If you're a leader, please think of healthy foods. Yeah.
getting the sleep, which you guys mentioned, the sun is a good one, I think. Walking phone calls are little opportunities where you can intertwine some self-care in the actual work. Yeah. There might be other opportunities as well that I'm not thinking of. And then but lead by example as well. So if you're demonstrating that self-care, then your staff around you will be doing that as well. They're going to be more productive, more effective if they're doing that. And if they see you doing that, they're going to know that it's okay. Yeah. And I like your idea of telling people. I think that's a good point. They think you've just skived off or whatever. Yeah. If you talk to people and you're honest with them, I need this moment. Yeah. That's be more accepting. Yeah.
I'll be an easier person to be around, and I'm going to take this moment. Or you look at it, if you've got access to a book that you really like, if you read, if you've got access to a bit of music, if you take a perfume, whatever appeals and looks after yourself, you're planning for it, right? So that when you actually get the call, maybe you've got that in your head already. What's it like coming back home? We've heard from Sally. Very good point. Everybody's waiting.
Or not.
Or not. So if you're coming home, it is going to be difficult, people, because you have been in another routine, in another speed, in another country maybe, in another town, with other people. You may have really, and I wish it be well bonded well with the people, and you come home maybe to nobody, close the door, and you have to readjust. So please think of your self-care there. This is where we get a lot of hassles. Someone sent me an unfortunate statistic about emergency people yesterday. They're 5 times more likely in the United States to commit suicide, and it usually happens when you finish doing something.
I make sure that I actively seek help even if nothing's happened. So when I get back, I book in a counselling session, or I book in a whatever, or I call the 14.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that I do that talking.
Yeah, I think I can hear that you're really aware of yourself. So this is a very good thing for us to cultivate. Also, choose someone you trust. Don't, it's like a dentist. Don't go to anybody. Maybe you get a peer group or a peer person going before you meet them. Work out what your triggers are. Tell them about it.
Comment from online from Rhiannon.
Yeah.
So Rhiannon said, coming home, I'll often debrief a few times with my manager or managers, team members, and support staff, all from different perspectives, lessons learned, knowledge transfer, etc. She finds it really helpful. She processes a lot of her emotions verbally.
Yeah. Also, I think, who mentions being kind? It's good, yeah. It's going to take time when you come back to come back to a situation you know about. You may become irritable, or as Michelle found, the non-drama husband actually allows her to just think, oh, I've left it behind. But depending on what you've been doing, if you haven't got your self-care routine going before you get busy and you let it go during getting busy, it's going to be more difficult afterwards. I've been mentioning a lot about individuals. Would you like to say something?
2 hands up.
2 hands up. Good. Go for it. Sally.
I think Michelle was first, if I may.
Oh, good. Because I'm not looking at the hands.
Sorry, Tim, I got to go catch the train.
Oh, Michelle's waving me on. Are you, Michelle?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. I think one of the things I've learned, and I don't know if it's a productive thing or not, but I do compartmentalize my life a lot. Like I learned early on that my family, I'm sure they think when you go off and you're working overseas, you're sitting on the side of a pool sipping cocktails or something. I don't think they actually really know what I do. It'd be really interesting to ask my family, what do you think Sally does? So I sort of compartmentalize it. So I have my group of friends and networks that I use, and you know, I usually access people before I go who are really relevant to that piece of work. And when I come home, it's sort of really weird. I sort of like it's like that sliding door or different realities or something. I like cut off one reality and go into the other. And, you know, I have to look after myself in that process, as I said, because I can say yes to family too much. But it's almost like there's these multiple realities all happening at the same time. And anytime you step sideways, you can change from one reality to another. I don't know if that's making any sense. It is late in the evening, so to speak.
It is making sense. Can I just say that if we're really grounded, we can change better. So work on being grounded. We can talk about that. Michelle.
You mentioned earlier about time, and just want to let everyone know that it can take a long time to get through some events. We're still getting through it. We're still seeing a psychiatrist quite regularly because there's different triggers. Inquest is a trigger, and other things. People get upset. We've been abused, so that's a good reason to get the psychiatrist in if someone's abusing us again. Killers, murderers, things like that. That's hard to take. So yeah, just it can take time, and it's okay.
Yeah. Could I perhaps say it will take time? Sally's ability to come in is something that she's built up over decades. I think it's really important that it takes time, and because you're in the community and you're getting negative feedback from the community, it may take longer. It's a bit like grieving, you know, we get through it, but it's always there in the background. It's how we hold it lightly that's important. Okay. Thank you for doing that. Let's move on. I'm aware time is going. So of course we've been looking at ourselves and what we can do, and after this we will go back to practical ideas of putting things in place. But I am aware that some of you work in work environments that are not supportive to self-care. So what is it like for you? How are you managing? Anybody like to comment?
I can throw something in that I'm thinking about is get to know the people that you're working with if you can, and share with other people what you need in those stressful times. You know, what are your triggers, and hey, you're my safety person, can you watch out for this? You know, that kind of thing.
Choose well. Don't choose the toxic ones that are going to say, really, it's a bit weak. Right? I'm just choose well, people. Liz, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, a few different organizations I've been in. I think it's important that you create the culture and business as usual of a regular open way to say how you're coping, whether that's a wellbeing battery that you talk about every week, or, you know, your concerns and celebrations that you've had for the week that you share with your business as usual team. And that kind of creates that culture of forcing you to reflect on what's been going well and not going well, or how you're coping with your self-care and what's going on in your life. And it creates a culture with your team of understanding and support when you do need it. And they get to know you better and what your triggers are. And then that just kind of follows through to response. And it's not some new thing that you have to start doing when you're under pressure, because you do it in BAU as well. So I think those kind of tools are quite good for workplaces to use.
I think they're excellent if they're working well. If you're deployed, you won't be in your network, so that's why I say think of plan B for self-care. If your leader is someone and your organization is someone who actually accepts self-care, then it's a good place to work. Sometimes you won't be working in those good places. All right. Okay. The thing is, we can't avoid stress, and some of us like a bit of stress in our job, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. But we can take action for our self-care. I just put up the definition of well-being because it's important to be able to say what it is and maybe change for yourself, right? But we can take action. Talked about responsibility for our self-care and our management of ourselves. So let's see how we can put it into practice. You could set up a self-care plan. If you want to do this, these are the things you need to think about. I've heard you say your triggers, okay? You know your signs of stress, how to deal with them. Don't forget to think about your strengths. We're not taught to think about our strengths. Some people feel that they're skiting if they think about their strengths. But for me, it is just to know where you can use your resources. So don't forget about the strengths. Your life will vary, it will go up and down. Sometimes things are happening that make you pretty shaky. Be aware of that and do surge capacity for your self-care plan when you're under stress. What are the ways you are coping? How do you manage pressure in your day-to-day lives and when you're in a leadership role, like you are? And what are the barriers that you need to overcome? I would write them down. Okay? If you're thinking of going and doing exercise, say you want to do running, and you don't get out your clothes to do it, when you wake up in the morning, if that's when you do it, that's a barrier. Take the barrier off, put the clothes out there. If your self-care is to take a bit of time for yourself or to have the pillow that you're going to take, get those things organized, think of what you need to feel safe even when you're not in your usual environment. Look at the barriers. And remember, your barriers could be yourself. So I want you to think of now just one behavior or one routine you would like to start or increase over the rest of our time together. Let's take a minute. What do you want to focus on for your self-care, behavior, or routine? Let's take a minute. Right, let's think of that while you're doing this. If you want to change your behavior, it's not easy because we have habits. And when we're under pressure, our habits become the things we know about. And we usually go back to those habits. So if you're changing a behavior, if you're increasing it, you are going against your usual habit. So first of all, identify what your motivation is. Write it down a couple of times. Write 2 motivations. Okay. I want to, for example, become more aware of my triggers. Before I say something I regret, how can I work on this? I'm motivated to do this because I want to improve my relationships with other people, and not to alienate my friends, and I want to like myself more. These are all motivators, okay? Work on this. Those are important because when the habits come up, you can think, yeah, but I'm motivated to do this because of this and this. Again, identify what's stopping you implementing that routine or that behavior. Write it down, okay? Whenever I'm about to go out, my 8-year-old comes in and asks, can I help with homework? How can I communicate and work on that better? So make a plan to overcome those barriers. Then get the behavior you want and break it down into small steps. Make the routine done into small steps. Okay? I will get my running shoes out and put them down. I will give myself time in the morning. I will relook at my motivations that I put on the fridge. Just work yourself out. And then start, as one of you said so well, doing it before you have to do it. And if you falter, be kind to yourself. It's not easy to change a habit, but it is possible even at the advanced age that I'm at. And when I'm 90, it will be possible. Psychology now knows we can change our behaviors. We can build muscle until we're 90 or plus. Okay, so this is something you can do. Be aware those attitudes are going to come right in and talk to you about it. The person you listen to most in your life is the little voice in your head. Sometimes that voice is very pleasant, sometimes it's very judgmental. Learn to shut up the judge. Learn what your attitude to self-care is. Is it seen by you as a luxury? Is it seen by you as being selfish? Is it seen by you as taking too much time? Those attitudes are going to hinder or help you. You've already talked about creating routines. I put in practice self-compassion, turning off your inner critic. Look at what's worrying you. Okay? Ask yourself what would be the most helpful thing you could do at the time. That needs some awareness of listening to what's going on in your head. In coping, try and concentrate on what you can do something about. Leave the challenges you can't do anything about for the moment. Start with where you can actually do something. I think all of you know basic self-care. I've never been in a group that doesn't know about basic self-care. But a lot of you perhaps don't know about identifying the thoughts that are behind these things that may be jeopardizing you taking care of yourself. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me now? What would I say to a friend in this situation? Instead of thinking, oh my God, I'm not sure I can do this, say, I can do this, I can learn from this. Don't forget a sense of humor if you've got it. When you're highly stressed, your sense of humor won't be there. I have heard the most atrocious sense of humor with the helping profession in medicine and nursing, and that's how they keep themselves going. Coping strategies is a bit of jargon used in psychology, but let's look what they are. I put down relativize. That means, is this the most important thing that's going to happen in my life? Is it okay if I can't do it completely? You can reframe positively a situation. Okay, this is This is difficult, but remember my experience. Share with trusted others. If you're thinking about coping, think of a time in your life where you had a challenge and how you coped with it. If you decided to drink lots of alcohol, don't choose that coping. If you decided to do something that worked for you, because we're all different, and it was positive, think of that as your coping strategies. Write them down. I tend to need a bit of time for myself to think of things, or I need to go and see people I really trust straight away. We're all different. Coping strategies can be learned at any age. One of the most important ones around self-care is the capacity to feel your emotions can be under your control a little bit. Not squashed, not suppressed, but you are able to keep calm at some level. I would develop that if you can, especially in the work you do. From the research, there are a few elements that you might like to prioritize. We've mentioned positive emotions, whether it's laughter or feeling good about yourself or feeling competent or feeling joy or seeing beauty, whatever works, use it. We need it. Are you engaged in what you're doing in your life? Does it please you? If you hate what you're doing, I suggest your self-care means you need to make changes. Yes, we need relationships. We need positive relationships. We don't need the toxic ones with the people who put us down. So cultivate a relationship. And don't forget we have a relationship with ourselves. So actually, we can be really positive with ourselves. Remember, turn off the inner critic. Do we feel our life has some meaning? Do we appreciate ourselves enough that we are going to live a life that has meaning? Sometimes it might fluctuate, but work on that one. And I like that somebody actually said in their groups, they talk about successes and accomplishments. That's self-care as well. I did okay there. This is good. We managed to do this. All right. Little message to finish off with people. So we have a few minutes for comments or questions. I don't want to go into moral injury and decision making, it would be too fast. So who would like to comment if they're having any ideas that have come from what we've discussed? Yeah.
Got a bit of homework to do.
Surprise, surprise. With kindness.
Yes.
Homework with kindness. All of us, right? Women in emergency management are known to take less good care of themselves than other people I know. Please do it so you stay in the field, otherwise you lose experience.
In the first exercise, when you asked us about why is it important and why, what I wrote down for myself is women often look after everyone else first, and the importance of putting our own oxygen mask on before the others. Looking at the image that you put on the screen a minute ago around battery, it's funny because I've been sitting here with my primary phone on the battery pack charging it because, it was down low and I wanted it to survive the train trip home shortly. So it's one of those things where the analogy kind of hits home.
Yeah, we do charge our phone more than we charge ourselves, right? Often. I think it's really hard to think. I've been on a plane with my two sons, and you always see this, you know, the oxygen mask is going to come down. Put it on yourself before you put it on your children, and it's almost in your, the French would say les tripes, you know, it's in your stomach, your gut, that you think, no. But if you can't help your sons, it is a different perspective to look at. I will take care of myself so that I can be able to take care of others. I often give that message because that one's more acceptable to many of you than I'm going to take care of myself because I am a person of value. So if you feel a bit of cringe there, as one of us said, got homework to do. Any other comments? Questions?
Are you able to share your presentation?
Yes,
I
send
didn't want to take notes, so
yeah, I'll send that to Amy tomorrow.
Yeah. I will take the recording from today's session and save it and process it over the next day or two, and I'll put it on the.
While she's taking care of herself, so it may be a week's time.
Yeah. In the foreseeable future, near future, I will get it ready and put it on the On Network's YouTube channel, and I'll send the link out to everyone who registered for the event. If for some reason you have any issues with that due to comments or anything that you said, please let me know. I like to allow a small delay in case there's any concerns in any minor editing that needs to be done. But we'll send that recording out to everyone as well as the presentation.
Can you edit that recording? So if someone says something that they're worried about, you know, I would say cut it out. I don't
think anything serious has been said in this one.
I can't even remember what I said, but so, yeah. No, if it was too profound, I would have stopped at this stuff. Okay, nice to see you vaguely up there. And I'm very sorry I didn't have time to read the chat. Go well, everybody. Well.
Thank you, ladies. I'll close this with a quick Kia, and then we can head off with the rest of our Tuesday evening.
May I just say something? Thank you so much for tonight. And I think it's really great timing too. I think the lead up to the end of the year in all of our work in most, you know, developed countries tends to be a bit crazy. It's sort of like everything's got to be done before the end of the year. So it was really good timing. So thank you all for organising, and thank you, Maureen.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you for giving your time and your expertise to share with us.
No problem. I'm part of the group, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone for sharing.
Yeah,
it's helpful hearing what other people.
It's very helpful for other people. You do not want a lecture, you want a discussion. Yeah. Okay.
So we are here. Kia whakaria te tahu, kia wai te ai te ara, kia tūru ki whakataha ai, kia tūru ki whakataha ai, oie, ui,
Go well.
Thank you, Lily.